We're on Eruvin, Perek Hey, Mishnah Bet. We're talking about the establishment of what's the boundaries of an area in order to establish Eruvin techum. So let's go back to the picture that I started with. Oh, you know what? Let's do the dedication. We'll dedicate our learning to the memory of my father, of Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. And as always, email me if you have comments or questions. Let's go back to where we started before. We said yesterday, or in the last Mishnah, Mishnah Aleph, that you establish the extension of a city. A city is established by making a rectangle around it, and outside of that you have the 2,000 amot, outside of which a person can walk in order to outside of the city. Okay, this is not drawn to scale, but you get the point. Now our Mishnah says, as a machloket about whether it's more than that or not. The Mishnah says, Noten karpef la'ir, divrei Rabbi Meir. Karpef is a boundary or a border, meaning before you start measuring the 75, let's look at the Bartunura for a second. Says the Bartunura, Kol abadim do tchumin, when you measure the tchumin, the boundary, the border, the meniach le'ir avir shel shivim amah v'shiraim. Remember we talked about the 70 plus amot? Okay, we talked about, first we said any house which is in the 70 plus amot extends the city. But here he says, once you have the outskirts of the city, you measure 70 plus amot, shivim amah shnei shlish, 70.6 amot, umisham atchil limdod alpayim amah. So according to Rabbi Meir, let's just take this. Let me see if I can let me see if I can grab this blue. I don't think I can move this. Okay. According to Rabbi Meir, I have the outside of the city, and then I measure 75 amot. Okay. I have that extra measurement, that buffer, and that from there I measure the 2,000 amot outside of that. Why does Rabbi Meir say that? Because he says, Shne'emar, it says in Bamidbar, Mikir ha'ir v'chutza elef amah saviv. Pasuk says, from the wall of the city, v'chutza, and out, elef amah saviv. So what does that word v'chutza teach you? Amra Torah, says the Torah, ten chutza, first chutza, v'chakach medod. And then measure. Kulomar, meaning, ten la karpet, give it the extra buffer, shall shivim amah v'shiraim, of 70.6 amot, v'chakach medod misham v'hala. So first you have the chutza, and then you measure the 2,000 amot, and obviously it's not to square scale, etc., etc. Okay. So that's what the Rabbi Meir says. No, ten karpef la'ir divrei Rabbi Meir. Chachamim say no. Lo amru karpef ela bein shtei arayot. The only reason you have a karpef is to measure between two cities. Im yesh lazo shivim amah b'shirayim, v'lazo shivim amah b'shirayim. If there's a karpef of 70 and plus amah, then osim karpef lishteihem la'asot ke'achat. The only reason the value of the karpef is only to connect two cities. Remember we talked about Yad Binyamin and Beit Chilkiah and measuring the 2,000 amot. Let's leave this guy on the side for now, okay? Now I have this 70 amot outside, okay? And so the question is, can I connect Yad Binyamin and Beit Chilkiah? So if I measure, if I measure Beit Chilkiah itself, okay, the Beit Chilkiah is really weird because it starts here, goes all the way there, okay? And you can see the gray outline. Beit Chilkiah is just very long and short. You can look it up. This is Beit Chilkiah. But now, so they don't intersect. So I'm not doing actual measurements, as I've said, but let's say if I measure 75 plus amah and 75 plus amah, let's say, for example, in theory, if I measure exactly, it's actually more, I don't think it's more than 140 amot, it's hard to know. But if these things actually touched, if the karpev of each one touched, then these would all be considered one city. And then what I would have to do is I would measure, what I essentially would end up doing is, since it's one city, I'd use one rectangle to measure the 2,000 amot. Now it just so happens, for those of you in the know, that there's an Eruv between Yad Binyamin and Beit Chilkiah. So it happens to be that it is one city, and you do measure the 2,000 amot outside of Yad Binyamin and Beit Chilkiah. But that's not our point. Even without an Eruv, even if without an Eruv, the Chachamim say, and we classify like them, if the karpefim, if the areas outside of them intersected, as we said before, if these areas outside, if this karpef was 70.6 amot and this was 70.6 amot intersected, then we would say that they're actually one yishuv, one city. And according to Chachamim, that's what hachutza means. How do you combine two into one? Then oseh karpef lishteihem liot ke'echat. Then they're connected to the one of them, and therefore it's considered like one yishuv, and you would measure, and the people of Yad Binyamin can walk to Beit Chilkiah, and Beit Chilkiah walk to Yad Binyamin, and they have 2,000 amot outside of it, as we've seen before. We'll stop here. Have a great day.